Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Onexplayer G1. This is the HX370 model, and this is a clamshell kind of styled device, mini laptop, gaming handheld, and I've purchased this with my own money through the Indiegogo campaign. I'm going to talk about my experience with it, and also some accessories you can use with it, some things that have made it a lot more enjoyable of an experience for me. So if you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the feel of the device. So it took a few, really like couple weeks before I really got used to how to hold this thing in a comfortable position that wasn't giving me any strain on my wrists. And now that I've had it for a month, it's really been a good experience for comfort. And again, that took a little bit of a learning curve where to position my fingers. So I wasn't mixing up where the buttons are from other handhelds that I have. Not that they're not in a different order, it's just strictly like how far I have to reach my finger to hit those buttons. And so I've acclimated to this device now and where the buttons are situated, and it's been a good experience for me. So here on the actual device, you have your start and select, and then you've got turbo, and then this is going to turn the touchpad on or switch it out to the keys. And so that's going to switch you between, again, both of those. And the full bottom here is a full touchpad, so you do get that full experience with it. The other thing is there's a mouse click, right click, left click, and so that's how you're going to select and right click on different things. And when you need to close the screen, there's a little home button here, and that's going to get you back to your desktop and flip you back between the two pages that you have. It's going to give you that minimize and then lets you pull that app back up by hitting that again. And so that's pretty handy to have. There's a volume up, volume down, and then brightness up, brightness down. So you can change the brightness right here with that. The screen itself is really nice. I don't miss the F1 OLED. It was a really nice screen, but I don't miss it when I'm using this device. Like, the screen looks beautiful. And when you first get it, it has a little bit of a film on it. So you can just peel that off if you don't want to use just the regular film, and you can replace it with an actual screen protector. So I'll get into that a little bit later over some of the accessories that I'm going to talk about. But this glass screen protector that I have on it looks beautiful with it. And you'll notice that I have grips on here too. And these are Skull & Co. Switch grips. And so they're for the little Joy-Cons, and it's the smallest size. The nice thing about this is it gives me that extra little lift on the sticks and that nice little grip feel that makes the experience even better. Now, if you decide to put those on there, you do need to calibrate the sticks. And I say that because it doesn't quite hit exactly where you need it to hit on one of the sticks. Like this one right here wasn't quite hitting that top spot as soon as I did that. So I'll show you how to calibrate that as well coming up soon. So on the back, you can see that I've also added some grip tape, and this has made the experience a lot better for me. I'll also cover what kind of grip tape I used for that when we get to the accessory section. So this is an auxiliary headphone jack. This is an Oculink port. This is a USB port, and these are both USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports. On the side, you've got a power button with a fingerprint. And then on the other side, we've got a micro SD card slot. And that's going to give you the full layout of all your ports. Now you'll notice that I also have dust plugs on here. This is an accessory that I use for all of my devices. And it just helps keep the ports clean and free of debris. I don't have one for the Oculink, unfortunately, but this is a really good position. And when you're connecting this to the onexgpu or other eGPUs, it's really nice that it's on that back, and it gives you that easy access to just go right into the GPU. So if I'm going in from Oculink, I don't have to worry about having it in a weird position or anything. I can just plug it right in from the back, plug in the Thunderbolt 4, and I'm good to go. I've got all my devices, and I can just game with the screen up like this. Or you can use an external monitor, whatever you prefer. But it does work really well. Because this is a 2K 144 hertz display, with an eGPU, you can actually really maximize this display. So you don't really need to have an external monitor, but if you do have one, obviously you can maximize that even more. If you have a 4K and you want to do 4K gaming, or if you have a 1440p monitor, you can get the most out of the eGPU, because most games you will be able to play 1440p in some really good settings. But because this display is a high resolution and high refresh rate, it's really good to play on too. When I'm actually holding this device, what I really like is the height of the screen. So when you're playing a regular handheld, usually your having the screen in the middle and your controllers are on the side, and your head is looking down on this, or you're lifting your hands up to try to get a better view with your neck. And this allows you to have that higher display where you're not really moving your neck so much. And so when I'm gaming, it puts it more at eye level for me, and I find that that's really nice, especially, again, for neck strain. And that's something that I really appreciate with the clamshell design. This is my first clamshell style handheld. I decided not to go with the GPD Win Mini or Win Max 2 last year, and instead went with the Intel X1. I'm glad I went with that choice. I love the X1. It's my favorite handheld of all time. The G1 is my number 2, and it has quickly become my number 2 because of the options and versatility of this device. And just from a comfort standpoint, it's way more comfortable than I thought it would be. And this Edge, a lot of people had concerns, including myself, of how the comfort would be with it. And it's not bad at all. Like, it doesn't impact you at all. It doesn't dig into your hands. And again, once you figure out the position that's most comfortable for you over the course of using the device, a few days, a few weeks, you really get a feel for how you should be holding it, and it becomes less strenuous to hold it, and it's actually pretty comfortable. Now, I've added these grips, and I mentioned the grips. This is super nice to have right here, because when you're just holding it or watching a video cutscene, it just gives you that extra little texture to grab. Now, on the sides, again, I said I had grip tape, grip tape, grip tape, and then I have these honeycomb style grip tapes here. All of this makes a huge difference, especially from the temperature, because this thing can get pretty hot. If you have it just sitting on your lap, it'll quickly ramp up to 90 degrees Celsius, which is way too hot. The fans are being blocked, and you need to make sure that you give it some air right away. So from a touch standpoint, I don't feel the heat on the back because I have this nice grip. It feels really good. So if I'm running it at 30 watt TDP, I'm not really feeling those temperatures. Where you do feel it is actually on the front. So if you're pressing the buttons, it's not a big deal from the temperature. And again, this is when I'm at 30 watt TDP. If you lower the TDP, you're not going to feel the heat as much. But when you're pressing the buttons, it's not a big deal. If you're holding down the buttons, so I noticed this the other day when I was playing Final Fantasy VII, there was chocobo racing at the Golden Saucer. And in the chocobo racing, you really had to hold down the A the whole time while you're racing. And I'm running a 30 watt TDP. I've got it plugged in. I'm bypassing the battery, but it is hot. Like, I made it through 2 races, and then I had to go and pull out a controller on the side. So I actually pulled out my Nixie Warrior controller, and then now I'm racing with this big A button here. Super handy, super nice to use with that specific mini game. And so for the next 2 hours, while I was racing through all the different races at the Golden Saucer, I was using this instead and just had this propped between my knees basically on the couch, which is kind of weird when you think about it, but it's something that I could do with it because I just pinched this between my knees, and then I had a really good position for it, and it actually wasn't that bad. It's not like I'm holding it with my hands, I'm holding it with my knees, but it was kind of unique that I could do that with this device. You can't do that with any other handheld. It would for sure drop and hit the floor. But that is the difference with this handheld, is this is over top of a heated area, and these can get hot. So if you've got a handheld with controls on the side, that's not really that noticeable. If I'm playing with my X1, the controls are connected on the side here. They're not getting that heat that this is getting. So that's a little bit of something to be cautious of. If you're running those higher temps, these can get hot. But again, if you're just pressing the buttons and you don't have to hold down anything for long periods of time, like a racing game, that maybe A is the gas, it's not a big deal. Now let's talk about the keyboard. And my keyboard has been really good. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. You do have to pair it. So there's like this Bluetooth 1, 2, 3, and you can, pair it to different devices if you want, but you need to function and hold to really get that one to program for one, and then get it connected to your device just like you would connect any Bluetooth keyboard to your device, so that when you're pulling this off, it stays connected. There's also a switch on the side, so you can turn it off if you don't want it running on the side, and you can turn it back on if you want it running again. And so there's also a port here if you want to charge it. This has a battery built in. It recharges and connects with these pogo pins at the top. If you're playing an FPS or something on the side, I do have a video for Marvel Rivals where I did that, and I used the mouse on the side, and it was playable. But I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I would connect a regular keyboard to it if you're going to play an FPS. But this is doable. If you were in a pinch and you needed to use this, it's totally manageable. And The only thing that I really dislike about this layout is where the question mark is and where the apostrophe is. So where these two buttons are, they're usually over here on a keyboard, and that's my one little gripe, because it's weird getting used to where those are. The touchpad, not that great, but you can turn it off. So there's function and then this button here, that's going to turn that off. Another really cool tip that OKS Gamer shared is if you hold these three buttons, it's going to pull up One X console. And so you don't need to be under here and pressing the turbo button. Turbo button is where you turn on the One X console or pull that up. You can use these four buttons to do that, and that's really handy. And the keyboard sits no problem on top of these grips. So that's something that I really appreciate, is that there's that extra little bit of space so that I can still have these grips on the top of my caps and these grips here, and there's no interference whatsoever with the keyboard and how it lays down on the device. In terms of battery life, this has a 51.97 watt-hour battery life, and that's going to give you, if you're playing a game at 30 watts on a AAA title like Final Fantasy VII, for example, about an hour and a half of game time. And that's low brightness, volume at a reasonable level, and just playing it on 30 watts. And you can, of course, reduce that down to 20 watts. You can reduce it down to 15 watts, depending on what kind of FPS you're looking for and resolution you want to run with. You can extend that. But on average, you'll see about an hour and a half of battery life if you're trying to play the most out of a game that's a AAA title. And if you're playing a game that's less of an intensive game, you can, of course, get a lot longer out of that. Not a big issue if you have a battery bank or something with you, or if you're, close to a plug and you're just trying to play for a little bit. But I haven't had a big issue with the battery life on it. For the most part, it's been really good. If I want to play a game unplugged for a little bit, an hour and a half is enough time for me to find a plug or get to somewhere where there's a safe point so that I can get to a plug and power it up somewhere. It does charge pretty quick, and that battery bypass function is really handy to have in the One X console app. So that's right here. And that's going to allow you to be able to, save your battery if you want to have a charge limit, or again, bypass it if you don't want the battery to be charging while you're playing with it plugged in. So that's a really neat feature that One X console has built in. So I have the 32 gig model. So when I go into the Onexplayer actual app and I look at the system and hardware, I can set my VRAM up to 24 gigs. I wouldn't recommend setting 24 gigs on a 32 gig RAM unit. 16 would be the very most. You'll see that it jumps from 8 gig to 16 gig. I wish there was something in between, but I know when I'm playing Final Fantasy VII, again, that's the one I'm playing the most right now, so you're going to hear me use that as an example a lot. The most I've seen it allocate is about 9.5 gigs, so having it at that 16 is the best option for this right now. But if there was something in between, I'd probably set it to 12 gigs, just to have a little bit more RAM on the CPU side, but again, not a big deal. 16 gigs is a really good place to set that. If you have a 64 gig, the most I would set that to is a 32 gig, or you can set it to 24 or 16, and 16 would probably be the lowest that I would set it to, again, with these gaps here. And then all you do is you save the GPU and then restart your device, and it'll set it the way you want it to be set. So you can go back in and check that. You also want to just check for updates frequently when you're on the One X console app, just to see if there's anything new on there. There is camera sign-in, so there is a little camera right here, but I find that it doesn't work very well, so I typically will just use the fingerprint sign-in. That one seems to work quite well, or I'll just use a PIN, which you just pull it up on the screen, enter your PIN, and then you're into Windows. Those are the easiest ways. I've, again, tried to make it recognize my face multiple times and try to improve that, but it seems to just not want to do it. I think maybe it signed in once this whole time using my face. Not sure what that's about, but maybe there'll be some driver updates to fix that. I do have an optimization video that can help you get the most out of your unit, and one of the biggest things that I'll recommend checking as soon as you install Windows, if you're doing a fresh restart, or if you're just turning on your device for the first time, type in core isolation in the bottom search bar and look under memory integrity and turn that off. If you want, you can leave it on, but when you turn it off, it makes a big difference on the performance of the device for gaming. And that's going to be the best way that you can get some immediate gains on your device to optimize it. One other thing that you're going to want to change is just in system display. You'll want to make sure the display orientation is set to landscape flipped, which it should be automatically, but then turn rotation lock on. and that's going to keep it from flipping the device if you turn it or anything like that. It's going to help with your FPS in your game. Just turn rotation lock on, and if you need to, you can turn it off down the road if there's something that you need to adjust, but leave it on, and that's going to help you for your performance. Now, one last thing I want to talk about. This thing is a fingerprint magnet. I have to wipe it constantly. If you're a little bit OCD like I am, I do wipe it constantly between this and display, because I like using the display like a tablet touchscreen. So fingerprints, they love this surface, and that's okay, but I just want you to know that that's going to happen. All right, now that we've got the fingerprints out of the way, let's talk about calibrating these sticks. So I mentioned when I put these little grip covers on that I had to recalibrate the sticks. Maybe you don't have those on, but your sticks aren't quite acting the way that you want them to be, or your triggers aren't acting the way that you want them to be. So what you're going to do is go into hardwaretester.com/gamepad. I'll leave the link to that in the description. And when you go into this, you'll see that you can move these sticks and it's going to react. And you can select which one it is. So if it's not on player one, then click whichever one is moving like this, and that'll give you the tab that this is on. So when you're on here, you're going to hold down the start and select button and hold that down for 4 or 5 seconds. And once you've held that down, these are not going to move when you start moving this. I'm not going to do it because I have a really nice calibration going on my sticks right now, and so I don't want to mess that up. But when you do that, it's not going to show you this. It's just going to stay still, because that's how you know you're in calibration mode. And you're going to move these around, and you're going to do it about 3-4 times, and then you're going to do the triggers. So your back triggers, you're going to hit those 2, 3, 4 times, just a few times, get that going. Hit that Y button, and that Y is going to save it and pull it out of the calibration mode. And then you're going to notice when you move your sticks, it's actually going to react again, and so you'll be able to see kind of where your calibration sits. So if you need to do it again, hold that down, move those sticks around to the full outer rim, and then move your triggers, and then you're going to be able to save that with Y. So that's going to be how you're going to calibrate. All right, now let's talk about accessories, because I love accessories. It's my favorite part about getting a device. I'm like, what kind of cool stuff can I add to this to make it even better or make my experience even better? Now, I'm going to go through this list, and I'm also going to put it in the description so you'll be able to see any of the links of the stuff that I'm talking about in the description. These are all accessories that I've purchased with my own money, and I just highly recommend them because they're just so great. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is this cooling pad. And this is a USB powered cooling pad. So you can see that there's 4 fans on here. It's a tablet cooling pad, so you can pull it right up and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. So if you want to, put this in a position that's higher, you can, but I've been using it just in like a flat position, and that's going to allow me to just sit this on top. Now with this cooling pad, I am going to give you one little note or tip, and that's to put like a grip piece here. So I'll talk about the grip tape right away, but the grip tape, I have a piece here and a piece here, and that's just so that this little edge doesn't scratch my device, because I did scratch my X1 Mini just ever so lightly in these 2 spots, having it on this tablet stand. So I don't want you to have that same experience. So you can see that it just touches that spot right here, and you want to have some sort of protection so you don't scratch your device. So when it's sitting on this, you're cooling it. And I mentioned when you have it on your lap and it's at 90 degrees Celsius, not ideal, but if you had this on your lap and you have this just plugged into the back USB for power, you'd be totally fine. You could just type on there and have it like that, or just keep it on a desk like this and keep it cool while you're playing your games, and just play in with a controller. So I mentioned the controller, just gaming like this while it's nice and cool. And to help you, if you want to have just like a higher position, you can get like a pad. This is like a cooling wrist pad for HyperX. It's for the 65% length. So you can get this, or you can get a little bit shorter, I think, for the 60. But this also helps too if you want to just have a nice little lift on your wrists. If you don't have the cooling pad and you just set this down, it also puts it at a nice height so that you can just type without any wrist strain. So this is something that you can get as well. I also have a mouse on the side. Of course, I've got like an actual gaming mouse or gaming mice. You can see that I have a few within my reach, but this is one that I just use for portable, and it has 3 settings. So I can pair to 3 different devices, and that's just easily switching between handhelds. So this one's just, because it's so flat, it's nice to just take with me and be portable. So if I just need a quick mouse on the side, it's a good experience to just take this with me. Nice little setup, on the go. All right, let's get into the grips. So the ones that I'm using on the actual device are these ones from Skull & Co. They're the thumb grips for the Switch OLED and Switch Lite, and I'm using the smallest size. The other ones are, like, there's a little bit of a wider one, there's a little bit of a higher one. You can still use the higher one, but you have to take it off, and it's a little bit tricky to put on. Like, you can't just leave it on and then put the keyboard on. So if you're not using it with the keyboard, you can still close it with the higher one. If you want to keep those ones on and you don't need to keep the keyboard with you, you can do that too. It is an option. But the smallest ones, those ones fit perfect on here and make it a really great experience over having just the regular sticks. And you're not wearing out the caps of the ones that are actually on it. You're wearing out these instead. For the actual grip tape that I have, you can see that there's like this honeycomb style design. This is what I'm using. And it might not be something that you're familiar with, but I'm telling you, like, it makes a good difference. Like, it's a really nice experience having this on there, and you're not going to be feeling like it's so hot in your hands. The other thing I have is the grip tape. And so I mentioned you can use this for the stand just on those tips, but this is just an actual roll of grip tape. It's just like the honeycomb style, but it's a lot less expensive because it's just a giant roll. And this is what I've used, and I've just cut out the sides here and cut out the pieces because I didn't want to block off any of the screw holes, and then just put a bigger chunk on the back. And then I have honeycomb designs kind of laying out here, but you could just put a chunk here and put a chunk here, and you would be in a really good spot because of the way that I hold this. This is kind of the pattern where my hands tend to sit. Now, the other thing is I also have it taped on these little bumps here, and these are where the little legs are. And I found that these came off almost immediately. As soon as I was doing the unboxing video, they got knocked off so many times that I almost lost them on the table. So I've put some grip tape over them so I don't lose it, but you still keep that little bump edge, and that just gives you that extra little lift when it's on a table, not when it's on your lap, because when it's on your lap, it just blocks these and ramps up the heat immediately. So they don't really do too much, but it does give you that extra little tiny lip so that these aren't what's resting on the counter. Now, the screen protector. So the one that I have on here is a JSOX one, and this is like a matte screen protector one. I'll just show you as like a real example of it. So pull off the film if you're gonna do this, and then you put this on first. There's also a little film on the touchpad that also comes off. You can just kind of pull up the lip of the edge here. It's a little bit tight, so if you've got like a plastic spudger or something, just pull up with that so you don't scratch your keyboard with anything metal or something like that. But that does come off so that you have just a nice feeling touchpad. I don't know if everybody's comes with those, but mine did, and there was a whole debate about it. Anyways, pull that off. And then the screen protector, you can just set it right on top, and that's going to cover the whole thing. So this is a Legion Go one. Fits perfect on the G1, also fits perfect on the X1 Mini. They're the same screen. The thing is with the Legion Go screen protectors, the JSOX one has a full cutout on here, so it actually covers the camera. Now, certain Legion Go ones will have a cutout for the Legion Go where the little sensor is, but it doesn't line up to where it is on here. So if you look at it really close, the camera is right here and the hole is right here. So depending on the one that you get, you might have that little cutout, and then you've got a little area there that's exposed. Not a really big deal, but I just want you to know so that if you are selecting a screen protector, you try to get one without that little cutout. Now, the charger that comes with it has quite a bit of a big brick, and this is a small compact brick. It's still a 100-watt charger. It's from Anker, and I have that paired with a U-Green 3-meter cable, and this gives you that extra length. It's like 10 feet of length, and between the two, it's a lot better for portability, but also range. So the one that comes in the box, I believe, is like a 2-meter, maybe a little bit less, but this gives you that extra length. So if you want to sit on the couch and your plug-in is a little bit further away, it's perfect for that. Now, cases. This is the one that you can get for the G1, and I picked this one up with the campaign. It fits perfectly, sits in there nicely. It has that little groove edge so that you're not squeezing your triggers, because your triggers have that little groove edge as well. But this one fits really nice. If you didn't get this or you're looking for alternatives, I'll show you some here. So this is a pack all case that I found on Amazon. This one, you can fit the charger in there. You can fit a longer cable on the side. Got a USB stick in there. Now on this side, there's these little, you know, straps to reconfigure this for organization, because this is almost like a accessory travel pack. But the G1 fits perfectly in there. And you can seal that up with all of your accessories and just take it on the go. And this comes in different colors too, but in the front, you've got that extra little pocket. So you got your mouse, you just tuck it in there. And now you've got everything in a pack all. So this is one of the options that you can use. It also does fit the G1 using that actual case. So if you wanted to use it inside here to have that harder case protection and then still close it in here, you totally can. And it still fits. But if you know that you can do that, at least that might help answer some questions. If you are looking for something that can fit everything all in one. Now the last case I want to go over is the TomTalk. This thing fits everything and anything. For any handhelds I've ever had, it works. Except for the X1, because the X1 is massive. But any of the other handhelds works perfectly. So this is also an option if you want to just have it strapped in there. Take this, it's got the strap to go around your shoulder, but it also fits the G1 great, and it has lots of room for accessories, foldable keyboards, I mean whatever you want to use, but you don't really need a foldable keyboard with the G1. But it does have a thick piece of padding in it, and that's going to help protect your device from both sides. Now we've covered a lot of information on this video, and I want it again to be very helpful for you, and I hope it was. And if it was, hit that like button, leave me a comment about it, and subscribe if you haven't already. But my recommendation is that if you don't have a unit, you're looking for the clamshell, this is a great option. And I've really enjoyed the G1. I did mention the X1 is still my favorite. G1 is overtaken number 2. And it'll be hard to dethrone this one. I really believe that. It is an awesome device. I am so glad that I picked this one up. It is expensive though. It's a premium device. And so if you're looking at these kind of units, any of the HX 370 units are expensive devices. And you want to make sure that you're spending your money in a spot that's going to meet your use case, meet what you're looking for a device. But I really have enjoyed my experience with this device. I'm going to continue to enjoy my experience with this device. I've used it for work. I've used it for gaming. I've taken it with me traveling. It's been great. And I would definitely recommend this device. If you're looking for just one device to pick out of all the devices, X1's going to be my device. That's the X1 Pro is my favorite. It's a nice big screen. It's got the controllers on the side. But if I'm looking to just like grab something on the go, I would just take this. If I need to gather the X1 to go for travel, it's a lot more of a process than grabbing this. If I need to take something on the go, I'm going to grab the G1. That's going to be my go-to to grab. But the G1 really gets it done. It's a great device. And again, I could highly recommend this device. It's awesome, especially if you're looking for a clamshell design. If you're looking for something that's like a laptop and a gaming device all in one, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's just right. And that's going to be it for today. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care, and till the next one.